Yankuba Minteh, he's moved to Brighton Move Albion. It's a Gambian journalist that we followed it for a while. Do you think he's made the right move like winning Brighton Move Albion? Considering
Well, thank you.
Considering the kind of players who play his position, you have the likes of Enciso, you have the likes of Simon Adingra, you have the likes of Wananute. Do you think he made the right move by joining Brighton Hove?
Well, thank you very much, Yao, and it's a pleasure to talk to you on this important move involving a Gambian player. Yes, to answer your question, yes, as a Gambian journalist who have been following Gambian football for a long time and following Yankuba Minteh in particular, I think, yes, he has made the right move to Brighton, and that is absolutely a very good decision as far as Yankuba Minteh and Gambian football is concerned. Yes, you've made mention of some other players who are at Brighton playing in the same position that he is playing. But I think he's young and he will take time to settle into the Premier League and develop as well. He has the qualities to play in the Premier League. And once he is guided, I think he will become a hit for Brighton and, of course, in the Premier League as well. Remember, as a youngster, he has ever dreamed of playing in the Premier League. And this is an opportunity that has come at the right time. And I am very much hopeful that Minteh can do good in the Premier League for Brighton.
Yes, you mentioned strengths. One thing I noticed watching him is that in space he has a lot of tricks. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the strengths that it takes to write it?
Well, he's very pacey, very skillful, a good goal scorer, a very intelligent young player. And you look at his performances when he was with Steve Biko in the Gambia, before going to Obi Odense and during his loan spell at Feyenoord. There is an absolute tricky winger who is very much confident. One thing that I love most about his game is he doesn't look back as a winger. In 1v1 situation, he's very confident that he can beat past any marker and go on to get the goals for his team. And another important aspect in his game is the high pressing. He has a lot of intensity in his game. Whenever he loses the ball, he helps the team regain the ball as quick as possible, because before a team does something good, you have to be with the ball. And Minteh is very, very much vital without the ball. So he's a high presser as far as football is concerned. And he's a kid who can get you goals. He's a kid who can create goals. Remember, he's one of the only two Gambians who've ever scored a goal in the Champions League. Scoring against Celtic was a very, very good one for him. And putting the Atletico Madrid defenders in a very, very delicate situation when Feyenoord played Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. So I think he can bring pace to the Brighton game in the Premier League. He can also bring a lot of intensity to their game, and he can also help the team recover whenever they lose possession.
Now that he's made this move, the 19-year-old Yankuba Minteh, in general, what does he mean to Gambian football? What does he mean to
Well, it means a lot to Gambian football. First, the entire country is very, very happy for him, Yankuba Minteh, and for Gambian football as well. If Brighton did not have fans in the Gambia now, they didn't only sign Yankuba Minteh, but they've signed a lot of Gambian fans as well, because Gambia is a country that fans are very much passionate about the Premier League, and having a player playing in the English Premier League absolutely will draw a lot of fans to Brighton. And also, it means that Gambian football have been taking the right steps in the previous years. Clubs have invested a lot in trying to mold these players, and also the coaches, the local coaches in the Gambia, have absolutely done tremendously in trying to train these players and put them on the right path. And of course, you cannot talk about this leaving behind the Gambia Football Federation because it's the umbrella body, but absolutely the coaches and clubs have done a lot in Gambian football. And Yankuba's story also is an inspiration for every Gambian young player, because remember, in 2021, Yankuba was playing in the Gambian League When the Gambia qualified to its first ever African Cup of Nations in Cameroon, Minteh was a fan. He was seen on one of the windows of the team bus celebrating that success. And in 2023, he was in he was in Ivory Coast playing in the African Cup of Nations. And where we are today, we're talking about Yankuba playing in the biggest league in the world. So it is an inspiration to every Gambian player that look, Minteh was able to do this in a short span of time. So if I am kicking the ball in the Gambia, I can go on to become like Yankuba Minteh in the future. So this is absolutely a huge step in the right direction as far as Gambian football is concerned. He's the second player to be playing in the Barclays English Premier League. We had Modou Barrow play for Swansea. He made his debut against Arsenal in 2014. And this one is absolutely a very top news and welcoming news to every Gambian football fan.
A little bit of diversion with the national team. Yes, can we touch a little bit on the national team? Gambia's national team hasn't fared so well in the World Cup qualifiers so far. What do you think should be done to ensure that a guy like Minteh's performance at club level be replicated in the national level, despite the fact that he's already scored 2 goals in the qualifiers? In terms of a team upgrading performance.
Yes, that's a very good question. I think the coach in Jonathan McKinstry has been a young coach, and he's trusted a lot of youngsters. And this one will absolutely go down very well with him. And all what he needs to do right now is just to help Yankuba develop, because I know the coaches at Brighton will definitely help him develop, because their technical director once said they will help him settle in and find time to develop. So I think the coach of the senior national team, Jonathan McKinstry, will also take time to make sure Yankuba integrates and have a very good performance. Looking at Brighton, we expect him to have a very good performance anytime he plays, and try to replicate that into the senior national team. The most important thing right now is to take pressure off this lad, because if he plays for Brighton and Hove Albion and comes down to the Gambia national team, the expectations will be very high that, look, Yankuba is playing for Brighton, so he's the star man, he has to deliver. So once that starts creeping into his mind, it will affect his performance. It's down to the coach to guide him and make him realize that he's young. He has a very long way to go as far as the national team is concerned. Let him take the pressure off himself, relax, enjoy playing football as much as he can, and try to take chances whenever it comes. So I think that is also very much important. And him coming into the national team is just building the national team. I think Jonathan McKinstry will look forward to try and build the national team around some of these stars, Yankuba Minteh, the Musa Barros, and the like. But looking at all the players that we have in the national team, we will say Yankuba has a long career because he's just 19 and playing in the Premier League. So I think Jonathan McKinstry will try to build the team around some of these players, especially Yankuba Minteh. But the most fundamental thing here is to take the pressure off him, allow him to enjoy playing the beautiful game of football. And if that happens, I think he can be somebody that Gambia needs to rely on as far as national team is concerned. He played 7 games and scored 3 goals. And looking at him, he's somebody who doesn't want to lose whenever he's with the Gambia national team. You could see in the AFCON when Gambia got eliminated, he cried bitterly. So he's someone who doesn't want to test defeat whenever he's playing for the national team.
Why did it take the Gambia so long to get to the AFCON?
To get to the AFCON. Yeah, it has never been easy. One will say at some point, our players were not playing in the top leagues in Europe. We find it very difficult to get players performing at the highest level outside the country. And you could see that most of the selection from the national team used to be players outside the Gambia. But some of those players have not been playing so much for their respective teams. And again, you look at the teams that we face in the qualifiers, they're bigger teams with better infrastructure, with better finance, that is funding and support. So it was very, very difficult for the Gambia back then to break in. But at some point where the entire country came together under Tom Faith, The federation did their part. The government also came in to try and do their part. Gambians rallied together to support this team. We had the belief that, look, 2021 for Cameroon was the right time, and we need to get there. And looking at the way we qualified, winning at home and qualifying in front of our own fans was really very, very important. So to answer your question, I think the reason why it took us so long was our players were not absolutely at the peak of their form for their respective clubs in Europe. That really played a part. When we started exporting players to some relatively good leagues in Europe, you could see the levels going up, and we get our qualification to our first AFCON in 2021. And again, from 2021 towards 2022, 2023, the number of players leaving the Gambia to top clubs in Europe, even not the Premier League or La Liga or so, but clubs where they will play week in, week out, has absolutely been very, very immense. And they came into the national team to replicate that kind of performance. It secured our place to the African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. And looking at where we are right now, we're talking about the story of Yankuba Minteh. The likes of Adam Obujang are coming up. The likes of Mahmoud Bajo. The likes of Aruna Rashid Njai. And even looking at the players in our Gambian league here, we have absolute brilliant players who are doing so well. So we are absolutely moving at the right direction right now. It took us so long back then because we did not have players playing top clubs and performing week in, week out. Now we have players playing week in, week out, and we are very much certain that our qualification into the African Cup of Nations will be consistent from now on.
Okay, great, fantastic. Final question. What would a successful season for Yankuba Minteh? What would you describe as a successful season for Yankuba Minteh?
Well, what I will describe as a successful season is for him to have playing time at Brighton and help Brighton reach their targets in the Premier League. And then, of course, come back to the Gambia national team and do us good. The World Cup might be too much to ask, but once the draw for the African Cup of Nations is done on the 4th of July, we're very much hopeful that any group that the Gambia finds itself in will be able to qualify to the next AFCON. But we pray that Minteh has a successful season, injury-free, play to his strength, get goals, and of course help Brighton finish as far as they can. But our biggest hope right now will be to see him play against Manchester United, play against Chelsea, play against Arsenal, play against Manchester City, play against Liverpool, and perform extremely well, even assisting or scoring goals.
Thank you very much. To show conversations like this, it takes to the EPL show to you for wise words.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yao. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and greetings to everyone there and the entire Ghanaian people. I miss you guys so much.
Yeah, we miss you too. I'll be seeing you at the other guy games. Miss you too. Okay, so I'm gonna have a nice day. We'll talk later.